Welcome to Forum 360. This is Leslie Ungar, your host today. Thank you for joining us for a Zoom session to our global outlook with a local view. Everyone loves their dog. Well, maybe. Maybe we can say Americans love their dogs. But what if we go, say, to China? Are the dogs loved there? In America, we have a rescue group for just about every kind of animal. Whales and bunnies and gorillas and greyhounds, horses, donkeys, lions, tigers, farm animals, and every breed of dog. With all of these animals in need of rescue, why a group to rescue dogs from China? Two representatives from China Rescue Dogs join us today, and hopefully some four-legged members also, to answer that question and answer it from a two-legged and a four-legged perspective. I welcome Ryan McDonnell and Sam Scaman, who will give us some different aspects of China Dog Rescue. Welcome. My first question has to be, when I told people I was doing the show, it's the first question that I got, and I assume it's the first question that you get. So Ryan, I'm going to start with you, and Sam, you are welcome to also weigh in on it. But Ryan, why not rescue dogs closer to home?
That's a very interesting question, and I do appreciate it. We get that question all the time. Here in the U.S., dogs have rights. There's SPCA, there's Dick Goddard's law, the Goddard law here in Ohio, and across multiple states, they have that. Over in China, they do not. In China, they're looked at from a perspective of they're not a family pet. They're something that's there, and they're raised for the meat market, or they're looked at from they're on the street. They go to a police impound lot. They don't have a chance in China. Here in the U.S., they always have a chance. So when we looked at it, we said, "Great, how can we make a difference and give them hope?" Coming out. And Sam, you have a better answer and are much more eloquent with it, but that's the raw piece of it.
Well, I'm going to ask you because, many of us see injustices and we see things that, we'd like to do something about, but we often don't do anything about it. So what prompted you from seeing this to getting involved?
Well, to me or Sam?
Sam.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I can tell you that our founder, Jill Stewart, back in 2018, 2019, actually adopted a dog from China, and it was a dog with special needs, and she was so moved and she was so touched by this dog that came from China that, again, literally had no rights. Nobody there from a governmental point of view was there to protect it, and once she rescued this dog, she thought, you know what? There are more over there, more for me to rescue. And she started a nonprofit. And from there, she started bringing in dogs with volunteers from China via commercial airlines. So a volunteer would fly over, rescue a few dogs, fly them back attached to their ticket, and bring them to the United States, where she had waiting for them forever homes. And the first set of dogs that she had brought in, at the time, she wasn't giving them any names. They were given numbers. And it just so happens that dog number one was adopted by this guy in Ohio. And Jill, talking to this guy in Ohio, they became friends. He was very passionate about what Jill was doing. Dog number one soon became Murphy. And the next thing you know, Jill had sucked him into the organization, and he's been involved with the organization ever since. And Ryan, that Ohio man is you.
Yes. Now, Ryan, people might ask, okay, so you get this dog from China. So tell us, is it different than getting a dog from, the local shelter or the Humane Society? Is it the same? Is a dog a dog? Tell us, is it more similar or more different?
A little different. A little different. These dogs are survivors. Not saying anybody from a shelter is not a survivor. They've gone through hell and back, and they finally come here to the U.S. And what ends up happening is they're just so grateful for the opportunity they've been given. And when you look at it, sometimes we go through a lot of things, and whether it be COVID-19, a job loss, etc., and we think they're rescuing us. I'm sorry, excuse me. They're actually we're rescuing them. They actually rescue us. I had a dog that came from the Humane Society. He rescued me. Okay, and when he did die, all right, from cancer at 13 years of age, I needed to fill that void, and I found trying to rescue dogs, and then I got formerly number one. He's now Murphy. He rescued me, and you hear these stories all the time from everybody. Are they the same dogs? Absolutely, but are they more grateful? Sure.
So if I walk my dog at the park a couple miles a day, and if I ran into you, would I just think this is just a big, great golden retriever? Would I think, oh, this dog had some different history? Would I just say, oh, this is just a great dog?
You would say it's a great dog because they are great dogs. Every dog is a great dog. Pure damn story. It doesn't matter where they come from. Okay.
Now, the downside, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on the downside, but meat markets are legal in China. So are there efforts in China, do you know, to outlaw meat markets?
I can tell you that there are some cities where supposedly eating dog meat is outlawed, but still there are numerous restaurants all over the country and wet markets, meat markets where, and I hate to be visual or too visual about the subject, but where you can actually see dogs for sale hanging. And it's very disturbing. A lot of our rescues, when we rescue dogs, we work with a number of different rescue organizations over in China, because slowly but surely the culture in China is changing. A lot of the younger generations are now starting to have pets of their own. This has been unheard of for the longest time in China. However, with COVID hitting, a lot of their apartments were stranded. A lot of their homes were stranded. They were stranded in other parts of the country. The fear that these dogs could spread COVID was rampant across the country. And so what ended up happening is a lot of these dogs ended up on the street, dogs that were formerly pets, or dogs that were literally bred for agriculture, if you will. And so they get picked up by and then put into a police pound. They are prepared for the agricultural industry, if you will, without getting too graphic. And so a lot of our rescues, they'll find strays off the street, rescue them off the street. They will rescue dogs from the police pound. And this is the most miraculous part, they will actually buy them off of meat trucks, on trucks that are actually headed to the meat market. And what they'll do in essence is they'll pay the guy driving the truck more money for the dog or a bunch of dogs than what the meat market will pay them. So we actually save their lives that way.
So let's look at, you said in the beginning, or one of you said that in the beginning, people took a couple dogs with them on their ticket, let's say, when they flew home. You are now flying airplane loads of dogs, from time to time, in 10, 20, 30, 40. So let's kind of look to some good news. How do you do that?
Well, and I'll answer this first, and then I'll let Ryan finish up. So basically, when COVID, we had a large chartered airplane ready to go that was going to rescue 100 dogs this past June, June 2nd, and the day before, 2 days before it was to leave California to fly over to China to pick up the dogs and bring them back, China put a restriction on any dogs flying commercial. And so literally that plane and that charter was canceled, was stalled on the runway, basically. And so we had to react quickly. And what we ended up doing is we figured out how we could fly all of these dogs via cargo airplane from China into the United States on like pallets, in crates on pallets. And that's how we're saving these dogs now. Eventually, once the restrictions loosen up and we can start flying commercially again, we'll probably go back to that method with volunteers flying, a couple of dogs back attached to their ticket. But until that time, we are still stuck with, having to fly cargo. Ryan, you want to finish?
Ryan, tell us, have you been there when a plane has landed with these dogs?
I have. I've been in Chicago and in New York City. This happened.
Now, what is that like, either for you or for these dogs? Like, do they have some idea of what is ahead of them?
They do. When they actually land, it's a very emotional experience for us. Sam,
I'm emotional just thinking about it.
And Sam has been there. He's seen this. And we get them out of their crates. We feed them, walk them, etc., and introduce them to their new forever home. And the emotional experience of seeing the folks who are getting their dogs, or they're already adopted through a rescue, and the rescues are there, and our vet partners being there, Bay Street Animal Hospital with Dr. Terry and her staff from Staten Island, New York. They're involved. You can't describe what the feeling is unless you experience it. And here's Sam will probably kill me for this, but Sam was found out about our operation, about the charter aircraft, etc., and we were soliciting donations. And goes, look, I can give $100, but I have skills here. Let's do a documentary. Let's do some videos. And so Sam flew out to Chicago on our first charter, or second cargo coming.
Well, we temporarily lost Ryan there, but I can finish up where he left off. So I show up to Chicago to shoot these dogs coming in, and it truly is a life-changing experience to see these dogs coming out of their crate for the first time free in the United States of America, where there are all these volunteers that are loving on them and giving them water and walking them so they can, use the restroom. It truly is life-changing. And I remember standing there, and I had my camera, because I'm also, I'm a camera guy, I'm a video guy, I'm an editor, I'm a producer, I'm a storyteller. And I am there videotaping this dog. And his name is Leo. And Leo was just shaking. He was fearful. He wasn't quite sure if he could trust these new humans, because he hadn't been able to trust humans before. And the other thing is, Leo only had 3 legs. So his other leg somehow got cut off. We don't know how. But I remember there, and I'm shooting him, and he's so fearful, but hopeful. And I have tears rolling down my face as I am shooting video of this beautiful dog. And to me, ultimately life-changing. And I went from volunteering a few hours of my time to being 100% committed to this organization and this group. And now they have me sucked in like they do with everyone who volunteers, because it really is truly such a worthwhile cause. And not only do the Forever Home and parents appreciate this new furry family member. But these dogs, oh my goodness, they have so much unconditional love to give, which is what they end up doing.
So Ryan, let me ask you, and
Yeah.
today we're talking about China rescue dogs with Ryan McDonnell and Sam Sacrament that has filmed the story. But when they come, do they have like 40 dogs, 100 dogs? Do they have their forever home, or do you bring them and then work to find their forever home?
They're for our homes when they come in.
So how
We
is
actually
that?
have a waiting list for this to happen.
So they see the dog on the website and they
They
pick
see them
out.
on Facebook at China Rescue Dogs. We would post them on our website at ChinaRescueDogs.org, but if we got them posted on Facebook first, can't get them up fast enough on the website because they've already been adopted.
So they pick them from seeing a picture of them.
Correct. And we provide the history of the dog, and we work with each adopter and say, this is where they came from, this is what to expect, etc. We give the personal touch also, where we will, like I said, up to the day it's happening. Okay, when the rescue is taking place, whether you meet us there or not, here, you may be in Ohio because we're doing 28 dogs today, and some are going to Chicago, some are staying here in Ohio, some are going to New York City, and we do FaceTime with them when they come in. If the doctor's there, awesome. If they're not, here's your new angel, and we do the FaceTime with them, and we bring them back, and then we meet one-on-one and follow up with everybody. And
some of them end up with kind of like Chinese names.
They do come with Chinese names, but everybody has picked out a new name for their dog.
Okay, so they get an American name.
They get an American name. Yeah.
Now, and either one of you can answer this. Did you start out specializing in golden retrievers and then you went to all dogs, or did you start with all dogs and then just ended up with a lot of golden retrievers?
All dogs, and just ended up with a lot of golden retrievers. In fact, at the end of this month, we're going to be doing our largest rescue ever for our organization. We're going to be bringing 60 dogs into New York City, and they are small dogs, big dogs, and one of the things in Goldens and Labs, and one of the things that we specialize in is bringing in the dogs that may be missing, as Sam indicated, Leo as a tripod. We have a couple coming in are blind. Okay, we have a couple that have other issues going on, and they all have homes. There was this one earlier this year, Madison. She was a small poodle, and her hind legs didn't function as they should. She was handicapped. Okay, she has 2 front paws. All right, she was found in the streets, and this family said, "We love her. We'll take her." I communicate with them at least once a week with all the video that they send me, and she's the happiest thing ever. A dog doesn't need to be perfect. They just need to be perfect for you. Okay.
So what is something that would surprise us who have not been involved, whether at the plane, taking photos or video, or actually having one? What would surprise us about a dog from China?
I would probably say the amount of unconditional love that these dogs bring. Not that they're any different from any other dog, because they are, in all reality, just dogs. But there's something unique about their story. And it's that story that they have to share with us that literally helps save us. Ryan had mentioned earlier, COVID 2020, terrible year. Lots of folks lost their jobs. Lots of folks, maybe lost loved ones, lost a pet, a family friend. We had a gentleman, and I won't give too much in the way of particulars, but he was engaged, a guy in his late 50s, early 60s. He was engaged to be married, lost his fiance to cancer. A month later, he lost his dog. and he had almost completely shut down. He was, a totally successful businessman. On our last trip back from China, we had rescued a dog for him. And this dog literally turned his life around, really brought him out of depression, picked up his life. And in reality, they both rescued each other. And for me, that's what this mission is all about.
Now that, every story can be told by the numbers and can be told kind of by the heart. That certainly tells the story by the heart. If I get through this show without crying, it'll be a miracle. But let's look at the story by the numbers. Cost $2,500 to bring each dog, to fly each dog. So
$2,500 to $3,500 per dog.
$2,500 to $3,500. So how do you raise money? Does each person that get the dog, do they pay that, or do they just pay an adoption fee and other donors pay this? What are some of the actual, the monetary numbers involved in this rescue?
Sure. The $2,500 to $3,500 is our cost per dog on freight, and that's it.
And it's primarily based on weight, the weight of the dog.
It's based on weight. Thanks, Sam. It's based on weight, and some of the private adopters do pay the $2,500 to $3,500. Okay. However, if they can't pay it, we have to fundraise for it. And the way we solicit donations is through fundraising through Facebook and our website, ChinaRescueDogs.org. And every dollar goes to rescuing the dogs, all the vaccinations, all the paperwork, etc. And Sam doesn't get a salary. I don't get a salary. Jill doesn't get a salary. And we're actually pulling money out of our own pocket to make this happen for everybody else.
Now, another number, which is not a pleasant number, 10 million dogs a year go to the dog meat market. Mm-hmm. So I guess some people would say, what difference does one make? So you guys had a goal of, in the beginning of 2020, was to bring over 100 Goldens on a freedom flight from China. Like, how have you done with your goals, especially in this COVID year?
Okay, so go ahead, Sam. You're going to talk. Go ahead.
I can tell you since, and this was as of, before today, we had rescued 255 dogs. Our president and founder, Jill Stewart, she cannot say no. So true. We have a pallet and it's loaded, and the next thing you know, she's got a second pallet loaded, and Ryan is on the phone going, we don't have the money. How are we going to get the money? And she always says, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And we always do figure it out. As of today, we're taping this, we've got another 29, 30 dogs coming in today to JFK. And then, as Ryan mentioned, end of this month, we're going to have close to, if not at 60 additional dogs. So 2021 looks even better than 2020 during the pandemic. And as the pandemic lessens, we're looking to bring in hundreds and hundreds, hopefully thousands more. And again, mainly because these babies have zero rights. And in the United States, animals, dogs do have rights. In the United States, because of COVID, you may have seen the stories, most of the shelters are empty. I remember in the middle of the COVID, the shelters would be empty for the first time ever, and all the employees would be ringing bells and celebrating and whatnot. So shelters do need more dogs, and we're helping to utilize that aspect and supplement those shelters with dogs that need homes from China. And the funny thing is, like Ryan mentioned, the dogs are gone even before they get to the shelters. So we work with, dozens of rescue organizations from across the country. They need 3 or 4 or 6 dogs before they even get to their shelter. They already have them adopted. And I mean, it's just like a revolving door.
Let me ask you, in the minute that I have left, if your magic wand worked, what is one thing that a listener or a viewer could do? I'll ask each of you quickly. Ryan, one thing a listener or a viewer could do.
If everyone that sees our Facebook page gives $5 to continue this mission. And the other thing too is spread the word and share and like our posts.
Okay.
But the same token, it doesn't happen without the donations.
So hand in hand. And Sam, one thing that a listener or viewer could do.
I'm going to ditto what Ryan said. ChinaRescueDogs.org, ChinaRescueDogs.org. There's a donate button there. And if everybody gives $1 or $5 or $10 or whatever you can afford, that helps us not only bring the dogs here, but it also helps us buy dog food and medicine for the dogs over there in preparation for their trip here.
China Rescue Dogs believe the ability to nurture and care for dogs is global. We have learned today about some of the highs and lows in their mission to save life, one little or big golden dog at a time.
Forum 360 is brought to you by John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, the Akron Community Foundation, Hudson Community Television, the Rubber City Radio Group, Shaw Jewish Community Center of Akron, Blue Green, Electric Impulse Communications, and Forum 360 supporters.